Hi everyone. So this is our last day learning about forces and fields. On Friday this week, there is going to be a quiz on forces and fields. So that's on all of the magnet stuff, all of the gravity stuff, and then this electric fields and electromagnet stuff that we are talking about today. All right, so the question is, why do we care about electric fields and magnetic fields and gravitational fields? The answer to this is just that they impact the way that everything around us works. So gravity, I think you guys have a pretty good understanding of why gravity impacts our daily life. Magnets, you wouldn't really think would be that important, like we think of them as something that attaches our pictures to our fridge or whatever. But magnets actually play a big role in all motors. And so if you ever have driven in a car, you definitely care about magnets. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that works today. All right, so first thing is the electric current. So the electric current is the flow of electric charges, often through a wire. So this is basically how electricity works. It has to do with the electric field that we talked about this week. And basically electrons will flow through a wire because of their charge. So that causes a current. So for example, when you turn on a light switch, the electrons start flowing through that wire and turn on the light bulb. All right, an electromagnet is kind of a combination of magnetic and electric fields. So this is a magnet whose field is created by an electric current. Electromagnets are part of all motors. So the example here, it's a little bit complicated, but we can talk about the basics. So this is a nail. A nail is not naturally a magnet. If you were to try and stick a nail to a fridge just by like tapping it on the fridge, it wouldn't stay there because it doesn't naturally have a magnetic, its electrons are not all spinning in a way that makes it a permanent magnet. However, if we were to wrap a wire around a magnet, and connect that wire to a battery, then all of a sudden there would be electrons flowing through this wire in a way that makes this nail into a magnet. So an electromagnet is a piece of metal that normally is not a magnet, but if you hook it up to a wire with a current in it, it becomes a magnet. So then if we were to stick this whole contraption near a fridge, it would attract a little bit to that fridge. All right, as you all know, electric motors are everywhere. So we obviously think of cars when we think of electric motors, but there are electric motors in basically all of our appliances, like your, if you have a dishwasher, dishwashers have electric motors. The computer that you're using has an electric motor in it. Fans have electric motors, air conditioning, all of these little things that need electricity to function. A lot of them have electric motors in it. And the function of the motor is basically to spin something in a useful way. So in a car, it leads to the wheels turning, right? All right, so the common parts of electric motors that have to do with all of this stuff that we've been talking about is that all electric motors have one or more permanent magnets. So that's something that's always a magnet, whether there's a current running through it or not. And then also a metal coil, like you had seen wrapped around that nail, and some kind of a power source, like a battery or something like that. Or maybe it plugs into an electric socket, something like that. All right, so the power source makes the coil into an electromagnet, and the permanent magnet makes the electromagnet spin. So this is really complicated to just talk about without picturing. So I'm going to attach also a link to a video about how these work so that you can actually see it in action. They're kind of fun to make if you happen to have the materials, but these materials aren't as common in household items as some of the other experiments that we've done. So unfortunately, this might be a little bit tricky to make, but if you happen to have this stuff around, it is really fun to make an electromagnet. All right, that is it for today. Go ahead and answer the questions in the Google form. I'll see you in class.